Good afternoon. My name is Aisha Chugtai, and I'm the chair of the Budget Committee. I'm going to call to order our regular meeting for Monday, October 28th, 2024. Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Wansley.
Present.
Rainville.
Present.
Vitaw.
Present.
Ellison. Osman. Cashman. Jenkins. Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury.
Present.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice Chair Koski.
Present.
Chair Chugtai.
Present.
There are 9 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. I'll also remind my colleagues that we will be using speaker management today, so please make sure to sign in. We have one item on our consent agenda today, along with 3 discussion items. So we'll start by taking up our consent agenda, which is appointments to the Capital Long Range Improvement Committee. Are there any questions from members of the committee related to the CLIC appointments? And then clerks, do we have speaker management set up? Just started. All right. So are there any questions? Wonderful. I will first recognize Councilmember Wansley.
No questions. Just wanted to thank my appointee, Matt, for joining on to this pretty awesome board. This is the closest thing that we have to participatory budgeting, so I'm really glad that Ward 2 has a representative that's going to help us figure out how we're making sound decisions as we approach some of our large capital projects. So just wanted to give a shout out to Matt.
Thank you so much. Any further questions or discussion? Council President Payne.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Likewise, I'm going to thank my appointees, Jake McCormick and Owen Hansen. They're reappointing, and I'm just happy to see them continuing on in such an important role.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm not seeing any further questions or discussion. So with that, let's do a voice vote on this item. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Are there any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion carries. Our next item is the passage of ordinance related to the appointed position of Director of Administration in the City Attorney's Office. For that, I will invite Brenda Miller from the Human Resources to begin that presentation, and then we'll be joined by City Attorney Anderson.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Chair Chugtai and members of the committee. I'm bringing forward 2 appointed positions today for your consideration. As mentioned, the first position is the Director of Administration in the City Attorney's Office. This position is part of the City Attorney's Office and manages the administration function of the City Attorney's Office. The Director of Administration has been evaluated at 513 points, grade 11. The salary schedule for 2024 ranges from $111,000 to $132,000. In 2024 and 2025, the cost will be offset by funds from the non-personnel budget. In 2026, the CAO will make an ongoing cut to its non-personnel budget to offset the difference, and the changes are effective October 31st of 2024. This position meets the criteria of Section 2010-10 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances for appointed positions. It reports to the City Attorney. It's a member of the City Attorney's Office Executive Management Team. It participates in the development and implementation of city policies, goals, and strategic planning for the City Attorney's Office. It requires leadership, vision, team building, and strategy implementation, and finally establishes policy, goals, and strategies that are consistent with the goals and priorities established by the mayor, city council, and the city attorney. Please find that the Director of Administration, CAO, meets the appointed criteria as defined in Section 201010 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances and forwarded on to Council for approval.
Thank you for that presentation, Ms. Miller. I'll now invite City Attorney Anderson to join us and speak a little bit more to the context for this position. Welcome, City Attorney.
Council Vice President, council members, thank you very much for hearing this request. So this is actually an existing position that's in the classified service. It's the operations manager, and it's basically converting from a classified position to an unclassified position to really recognize the increased responsibility and role for this position within my office. It is a role that is truly part of the management team and is essential to help set the strategy of the internal workings of the city attorney's office. So again, it's not creating a new position, it's just converting an existing position with an incumbent into the unclassified service.
Thank you. Colleagues, are there any questions or discussion related to this item? I'll first recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. I did have a clarifying question in regards to you mentioning this is not a new position. Will this basically oversee an existing position that was included in your department budget presentation, where you also list you have a manager of administration? So will this director position oversee that, or will it essentially what will be the status of that position?
Council Vice President, Councilmember Wansley, this position replaces that position. So again, it's a position with an incumbent, and it's just converting that same position into the unclassified service, and then the old position goes away.
Okay, so it's just the difference of framing. You mentioned operational manager. This just says manager of administration, but it's replacing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion? I'm not seeing any. I will note that we've been joined in this committee meeting by Council Member Jenkins. So seeing no further discussion, I'll move approval of this item. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion carries. Next up is the passage of ordinance related to the appointed position of Deputy Director of Records Management and Data Practices in the City Clerk's Office. I'll now re-invite Ms. Brenda Miller from Human Resources to give us that presentation, and then we'll be joined by Mr. Romelhoff in the Clerk's Office. Welcome back, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. So the second position, as stated, is the Deputy Director of Records Management and Data Practices. This position is part of the City Clerk's Office, and together with the Assistant City Clerk, manages the Information Government's Records Management and Data Practices Division. The Deputy Director of Records Management and Data Practices has been evaluated at 515 points, grade 11. The salary schedule approximately ranges from 112 to 133K. The 2024 incremental cost is being paid for from the City Clerk's budget, and changes are effective October 31st of 2024. This position meets the criteria of Section 201010 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances. It reports to the Assistant City Clerk. It's a member of the City Clerk's Office Executive Management Team. It contributes to the development and implementation of city policies, goals, and strategic planning for the City Clerk's Office. It requires leadership, vision, team building, and strategy implementation, and finally establishes policies, goals, and strategies that are consistent with the goals and priorities established by the mayor, city council, and the city clerk. Please find that the Deputy Director of Records Management and Data Practices meets the appointed criteria as defined in Section 201010 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances and forwarded on to council for final approval. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now invite Mr. Romelhoff from the Clerk's Office to tell us a little bit more about this position.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Council Vice President, council members. Much like the City Attorney's position, this is really reflecting reclassifying an existing position that has an incumbent in it. And the reason we're asking to do this is because the reclassification is prompted by significant changes to what the role did. The role we're talking about supervises the data practices team in my division, and not in the not very distant past, that was a team of 3 people. That team has grown largely by incorporating teams that were handling responsibilities in other departments, mostly the police department. So the team is now a team of 14, including this position, and the simple hub structure that we had no longer is effective. We need to have a proper management, supervisor, sort of staff structure in order to be effective. Because of the change of duties prompted this reclassification, we're also taking the opportunity to move this from the classified to the unclassified section and become part of the management team in the clerk's office. So we think this will allow us to have kind of backfilling capabilities, have continuity over time, and really reflect kind of the work and need that we're doing today, as well as better situate us for the future. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Colleagues, are there any questions or comments related to item number 3? I'm not seeing any. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seeing no discussion or questions, I will move approval of this item. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, and that motion carries. Our last item today, item number 4, is a report on a legislative directive requesting information and data on financial reporting, monitoring, and performance measurement. I'll now invite the Finance and Property Services Department to join us to give that presentation. Welcome, Deputy CFO.
Good afternoon, Council Vice President Chuck Ties and members of the Budget Committee. I want to preface that there was no presentation prepared. I do have some prepared remarks here, and I will stand for questions after my prepared remarks. First, I would like to introduce myself as Rod Choff. I am the Deputy CFO here for the City of Minneapolis. As you know, the Budget Committee requested additional information and context surrounding the second quarter financial updates, which provided spending and also revenue information through the second quarter ending June 30th, 2024. The report submitted to you today responds to those questions. I would also like to preface the purpose and intent of a quarterly report. A quarterly report is a snapshot in time of the city's finances. The enterprise, as you know, will continue to spend, which will showcase in the following quarters. Quarter 3, quarter 4, in this case. As a snapshot in time, quarterly reports will give us the current financial climate, but keep in mind the financial climate can be unpredictable. Much can change throughout the year, for example, during the COVID years. Quarterly reports provide some projections, but do not provide official surpluses or deficits. Official surpluses and deficits are not recognized until we close our books. Being a first-class city, we have the Office of the State Auditor come in and audit our book to issue us a formal official statement. Because there is a lag time between completing the second quarter and also closing the accounting period, transition within team, preparing the report, and abiding by the committee's calendar, mostly all quarter reports are outdated by the time they are published. They remain accurate for the period that they represent, but spending does not stop during that preparation time. I would also like to highlight that Finance and Property Services is proud of our work and of our financial reporting. A couple of highlights is during the recent audit, the Office of the State Auditor recently gave us an unmodified opinion. There are 4 types of an opinion. There's an unmodified, there's also a modified, and there's also a no opinion and an adverse opinion. We, having an unmodified, categorize us in a clean state, meaning that our financials are sound. Also, the AAA bond rating that I was a part of this year, I had the great fortune to be a part of. We gave the rating agency access to the Q2 reporting that was an element in their affirmation of our AAA bond rating, and that is between Fitch and Standard & Poor's. Roughly only 9% of municipality in Minnesota gets this recognition, so we are really, really proud of that. Also, for 49 consecutive years, we have earned a Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting from the GFOA. Most recently, our application has moved over to review status, meaning that we are still seeking that 50th year. By around March or April, we might get that 50th year Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting, pending our application process. We hope this report provides a counselor and a resident of Minneapolis with more information about how finances conduct the work of the city. When we present future quarterly reports, we hope this experience helped the council engage more fully with our work. We invite you to review our materials in advance of those meetings so that we can be responsive to your question. Therefore, I'm happy to stand for further questions. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for giving us that overview. Colleagues, are there any questions or comments related to the report from Finance and Property Services and any of the comments or from today? I will first recognize Council President Payne.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I know that cash flows can be lumpy. It's not linear day to day, but as I'm looking at the table around the second quarter quarterly report, I don't want to say this is an assumption, but should my understanding be if we were to do the raw linear math of a prorated amount, that the quarterly report, if we were to look at the percentage of the budget remaining, would generically be at 50%, knowing that it'll never day to day be the exact dollar amount that is cash flowing, but that would be a rough estimate that we should be holding on to, right?
Council President Payne, through the chair, Madam Chair, may I address Council President Payne? Given the complexity between government finances and the majority of our revenue comes from property taxes and state aid, we cannot assume that it's going to be linear. Therefore, because of the revenue recognition that takes place in December and also when we receive during the summer months. So we can't always assume that. We can always try to budget for collections of around 97%, which has historically been the case here, to budget that variance. So we can assume we can get close to it, but not in a linear fashion.
That's on the revenue side. I was wondering more so on the expense side.
Expense as well, given that the month-to-month fluctuation. You might see a variance for a vacancy, for example. That does not mean that the position will get filled now. It could get filled later, or it could never get filled.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I will recognize Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Deputy CFO. Appreciate the added information and also all of the great work that the department has been doing. I really appreciate you highlighting all of that. And I do recognize that you're new, so if you need to phone a friend, please feel free to do that. I have a few questions here. And I'll go kind of in order of the summary. So the response summary answer to 1, it contains a lot of information. And so I have a follow-up question. Are the city's quarterly financial reports audited or independently reviewed?
Through the chair, Madam Vice Chair, our city reporting and also other mechanisms are audited. We have an internal process, and then we also have an external process. And also, we also need to get audited by the federal government with our single audit.
Okay, thank you so much. And then moving to number 2 in the answers, 2B specifically, it contains the following information. So on the revenues side, there's projected values in column G. There's actual year-to-date revenue, that's column E, plus an estimate made by finance staff for the remainder of the year, and then there's a couple other points there. And then on the expenses, projection values are either actual year-to-date expenses plus an estimate made by finance staff for the remainder of the year. The same as the current budget, finance may estimate the final expenditures will be the same as the current budget. In that case, there would not be a budget variance. That was just quoted from the information we got. How do finance staff estimate this value?
Through the chair, Madam Vice Chair, there are approximately 20 members of our accounting staff that works closely with each and every department to come up with some of these figures. One, we take a look at a snapshot in time, the reporting period. Our finance staff has also worked closely with the department managers to estimate, is this expense here going to be linear? We will extrapolate that. And so all of these are formulaically in these types of cells here with the professional advice from the accountants vis-a-vis the department managers.
Okay, thank you. So and the original question was, we asked about specific models or formulas that are used to estimate. And so my understanding is you're saying that there are 20 different members, but what are the specific models that are and formulas that are used?
Excuse me, through the chair, Madam Vice Chair. Not to get too technical, our accounting staff are the professionals on the field. Our accounting staff will extract data from our ERP system, which is Comet. And through that extract, it goes into a template. And then from that template, there are certain formulas such as lookups, such as sum if, such as pivot tables. All that data analysis needs to happen with the data integrity. And also it is validated with the actual department heads, with the managers, to make sure that, for example, for salary, if a person is earning 3 months into the year, if a person is making 100K, it's 25K, correct? Why is this person making more? Is it overtime?
Gotcha. Thank you so much. That's really helpful to just understand just even the use of Comet and what that does to, to get you the information that you're using to estimate those values. Another question I had, when I'm looking at number 3, so I came to the following finding. For the past 5 years, from 2019 to 2023, each second quarter financial report year-end projection has underestimated the city's total revenues and overestimated the city's total expenses. Can you confirm that finding?
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, I just want to say that throughout the past 5 years, a large portion of our revenue and expenses, we were in the COVID years. So that can construe a lot of things. As far as the budgeting side of the team, if you look at the actual graph, expenses and revenue, our budget team, as we get closer to the quarter end, we've been pretty much in line. We've been pretty much around 97 to 98%. So our variances get smaller, but for our second quarter snapshot, we're approximately probably 20% of revenue, and majority of revenue comes in around the December timeframe. So yes, it is accurate to say that the past 5 years, our budgets and actuals were pretty much in line, but that does not guarantee future years because things can change, and as we witnessed with COVID, a pandemic happens.
And is that something that you would project, that would change?
That will be a part of the controller division, which is the division I oversee, the budget division as well, working closely with our with our CFO, Dushani, also working with council as well, because it's a partnership.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So now for question, or the response summary for item number 4. It makes it clear that the Finance and Property Service Department has the information requested, but is not wanting to provide this. I just wanted to ask the city attorney, when the city council requests information through an official approved act, does the executive branch have the authority to refuse to provide that information?
Mr. City Attorney.
Chair Chugtai and Councilmember Koski. In pursuit of its charter delegated budgetary responsibility, the council can ask for information from the administration, and the administration has an obligation to provide the information.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer. And so now that that's been settled, I would ask that the executive branch furnish the information as requested in the legislative directive. And so I've actually pulled together some of these basic tables as an example of what would be helpful for us to see. And so when we look at this, it's by department, salary, wages, fringes, contractual services, operating costs, and then the original budget, revised, current budget, and year-to-date actuals. And then when we look, the other piece that we requested was by program, so the department, program, and then original budget, revised, current budget, and year-to-date. So I'm happy to share this with you afterwards so that we can continue those conversations and get the information. So appreciate that. On to number 5, so the response summaries answer in number 5. Does the city commit current year's budget saving to future budget? That was not the question that was asked, so I'll ask what I believe is the most important of those questions. Is there legal precedent or policy that allows the committing of current budget savings to future budgets without formal allocation or authorization? And then I just, just starting with a clear yes or no would be helpful.
Council Vice Chair Koski, through the chair, I would defer that to the attorney's office. I do not have a legal background to offer you a professional advice on that.
Perfect. Happy to, like I said, to phone a friend here. So do you want me to repeat the question?
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Koski, repeating it would be good, but I also think I'll probably need some time to look at it myself.
That's fine too. So I'll repeat the question and we can just put it as a memo so that we don't take up too much more time too. So is there legal precedent or policy that allows the committing of current budget savings to future budgets without formal allocation or authorization?
Would you like to have that noted for administrative follow-up?
Yes,
That's going
I
to
think
make the most
okay.
sense. Okay, wonderful.
Okay, still on on the response summary to number 5. It stated, the city does, however, budget a planned use of fund balance based on the audited financial statements from the prior year. You talked a little bit about this, but when are the audited financial statements from the prior year typically completed?
Madam Vice Chair, through the chair, our audited, I can give you a background on year-end. Year-end processes start now.
Okay.
Once we close the book on a calendar year, by December 31st, we're already in contact with the Office of the State Auditor. Usually, it takes about 3 to 6 months to issue a final audited report. So the timeframes vary. It can vary from staffing. It can vary from, the Office of State Auditors having new auditors on board, which we will help train. So on average, it takes about 3 to 6 months after the close of the calendar year.
Okay. So somewhere between, let's see, March and June. Okay, that's helpful. So based on that information, would it be accurate to state that the current year's budget savings, which will contribute to the fund balance, will not be available for use until the audited financial statements this year are complete, sometime between 3 and 6 months, which is after the 2025 property tax levy will be set and imposed, thus meaning that those funds cannot and will not be used to lower the 2025 property tax levy?
Madam Vice Chair, through the chair, given the influx of revenue from the state, also other revenues that we as a city get, it's more prudent to assume that we can project, but we cannot officially recognize during that time period.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. And then a final question. Has the mayor or the administration or your team implemented the budget cuts that they stated were necessary as a response to the budget reallocation that was done for Agate?
Madam Vice Chair, through the chair, we did have that resolution coming into our office. As of now, I did not see any action yet. I would have to refer that to the council, to the mayor's office, and also our staff member.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'll just end with this, that, I just, again, I appreciate all of the information, and from my vantage point here, I see that the city's financial situation is stable. Our projected year-end general fund balance is $168.4 million. That's $54.8 million above our targeted balance, which means we have a cushion of reserves on top of a cushion of reserves. We have the capacity to spend that $1.5 million on an emergency without disrupting the budget, and we have the capacity to spend $1.5 million on an emergency without putting the overall financial stability of the city at risk. And so I'm grateful today to have some clarity on this information. So thank you so much again for your presentation and the added information and questions. I know I asked a lot.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Koski. Next, I will recognize Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think I have any questions directly, but just a couple things I wanted to point out. The budget team are particularly humble public servants. They're not boastful in any way. They do have a few things to be proud of in terms of serving our city. A good portion of this report talks about being audited on an annual basis by the state, and that they've received a certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for 49 years straight. So thank you for being part of that long tutelage of work. You know, a couple of things that I found interesting about this report. I did have a chance to read this report. Most of them are on page 13 for anybody that's following, and they're in the bullet points that the finance team points out. The first one, in the part that starts about change in fund balance, it talks about the projection for the second quarter indicates planned expenditures, which is a significant drawdown from our current fund balance. And it talks about how this situation underscores that there is no surplus available. Instead, and it says, and I quote, "We are deficit spending our fund balance as of June 30th." So as of that second quarter report. Another piece talks about the amounts that were above the target were important to clarify, that this amount includes restricted fund balances designated for specific purposes and therefore should not be reviewed as a true surplus. That's a quote from the bullet point that starts June 30th, 2024 cash balance. Another one is about the projected revenue budget deficit, and it ends with, "It is crucial to recognize that this does not equate to a surplus. The anticipated reduction in revenue challenges the notion of a surplus, as any decrease in revenue directly impacts our financial profile." I want our city to keep its designation of excellence in financial reporting and budgeting, and I thank you for your work. The city does not commit current year's budget savings to future budgets. So, as we've been told over and over again, financial reports are a snapshot in time. They are not definitive documents. The state auditor's report is a reminder of the fluidity of financial reports. They can be influenced by many, many factors, both internal and external. And none of us up here on this dais are experts in finance, but we have highly experienced professional staff who are, and they're right here in this room. We need to let them do their jobs, and we need to believe what they tell us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm not seeing any further questions or discussion. Actually, I will recognize Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a quick clarifying question. So this item is the legislative directive that was brought forward by you and Councilmember Koski after the $1.5 million that was given to Agate and
Yes,
right?
that's exactly right.
Okay, I'm just making sure I'm thinking about the correct legislative directive. Thank you.
Yep, you've got it exactly right. Wonderful. With that, I'm not seeing any further questions or discussion. So seeing none, I will ask the clerk to file that report. Thank you, Deputy CFO, for your additional remarks and answers to questions. With that, we have concluded all business to come before this committee today, and without objection, we stand adjourned.
Thank you.